So, very warm welcome to all you wonderful viewers of Universal Mentors Association. We are drawing towards the end of our second digital transformation banking conclave, wherein just to give you the glimpse of what all we have discussed, we have talked about some really important topics like artificial intelligence, robotics, IoT, and blockchain technology reshaping how they're reshaping the digital world. We talked about importance of digital threat protection and zero trust. We also talked about the future of neo normal and digital payments. And our previous session talked about how fintech is shaping up the digital lending landscape. Another very interesting topic coming up is the digital banking factors are driven, the BFSI revolution that we have all seen. But before we go ahead and join the panel, I would like to once again introduce to you our partners for this event. Uh, Ms. Namrata Sinha, who's the senior psychologist from Brain Wonders, who would be starting off with the session. But before I log off, I'll introduce you to the one of the most amazing panels across the sector. We have with us Mr. Manoj Sarangi, who's the SVP of NSDL, Mr. Buchi Babu Bura, who's the IT Advisory Board Punjab and Sindh Bank, Mr. Manishi Chatterjee, who's the General Manager ITBI Bank. We have Mr. Utpal Chakraborty, who's the Chief Digital Officer of Allied Digital Services Limited, Mr. Jitendra Mahapatra, DVP and Head of Model Risk Management, Financial Modeling and AI, COE Axis Bank. Mr. N.K. Purohit, who's the Chief Digital Officer of IIFL. We have Mr. Neerav Choksi, who's the co-founder and CEO of Credible. Mr. Jagrup Singh, who's the AVP of Piramal Capital and Housing Finance. Welcome to all the wonderful speakers. Some of them will be joining us while the session is on the way. But before further ado, I think this amazing session is going to can last for a couple of hours, but we'll try to finish it in time. So we have time till 5. At the latest, you can extend the session. But before we go ahead and do that, Namrata ma'am, I leave the session to you. You can start with your presentation. Thank you.
Um, thank, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity among such an esteemed panel. And I always look forward to your inputs about how the current trends and revolution shaping up in the BFSI segment. I'm sure it will be a very enlightening session for me and everybody who's in the audience. Um, all right. So basically, are into assess.
Namrata, you are not audible. Is she audible to others?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No.
Namrata, your video is also stuck. We cannot hear you.
Another thing is some kind of reverberation is coming from the background, kind of echo.
Yeah, yeah.
Presentation at the end, if that's okay. And we'll request Manoj sir to start off with the session, if that is okay, Manoj sir. We'll ask Namrata ma'am to join us, after the session is over or during the session, wherever you find
Yeah.
time to have her.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you, Universal Metals, for this giving this opportunity to us, and I have a esteemed panel with me. I used to probably, go round the table with a little bit of introduction and also setting the context for the discussion for the next 45 minutes or so. And the topic is BFSI Revolution, the digital banking factors at its given. So there is a lot of plenty of fintech companies which has caused a lot of changes in the banking sector in recent years.
Can be little bit louder, sir. Can be loud.
Okay,
Yeah.
so so that has caused a lot of transformation in the whole banking sector and the whole life cycle of the bank and associated processes. Technologies such as AI, ML have taken precedence over a lot of traditional technologies, and there are several use cases which have emerged during the course. and people are now talking about taking it little further, centralized to decentralized, and then cloud, and now taking the computing to the edge. So those are the changes that are happening. Edge computing is the latest probably buzzword, apart from IoT, AI, ML that we have been hearing. Let me come to the panel right away, and let me start with Mr. Babu.
Yes.
My question to him is, what are the different digital banking factors that are tech driven, and how the banks are now looking at technology to drive their growth, financial as well as and peripheral growth. So, Mr. Babu, please.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Manoj. No, digital and technology. I don't say any digital without a technology, right? Technologies are there. Which technology? Is it emerging, or is it a kind of the existing traditional technologies? So, but most of the time, what I saw, at least with I'm associated more with the public sector bank. So I'll talk about them. When we talk about the technologies, yes, but the first concern is the security and customer retention. Security was because of the prevailing regulations. Most of the banks, I'll say BFSI or whatever is applicable to banks is applicable to NBFCs also. So what is driving is the one is the customer experience, second is the security part of it. Most of the time, these banks are bogged down with the kind of taking care of the regulator's direction. This is the first part of it. Second thing is the hype about the technologies. In fact, more than 5 6 years we are speaking about blockchain. Blockchain never took off. I didn't find any blockchain really any bank capitalizing it. AI, ML, yeah, AI people are doing, but that again is restricted to their own kind of domain, not a kind of what you call democratized, and everybody invents in his own way. What people think is the technology as an emerging technology, which may not be an AI. Sometimes it may end up in a simple descriptive analytics. But what banks are doing is really is they're all into the customer experience. Customer experience is the top priority, and they are doing it in many ways. And every bank sometimes invents, and the other banks follow. What I feel is they should not confuse the customer. Every bank comes out with its own product, and customer is more confused with with different kinds of what is that invention. What we look at is I'm looking only from the digital for the financial inclusion and for the customer's place. For the customer, it should be ease of use should be there, and of course feature phone that offline banking is coming up that should take care of people. For me, we'll talk about the technologies later. Customer is the focus and inclusion is the focus.
I think nice points. If you have to kind of
Yeah,
summarize that, customer experience stays on the top, and then when you are talking about the security and the
yeah,
owners and the organization to look at the regulatory requirement as well. Then there's a hype with the technology where AI, ML, and other technology coming, but
yeah.
basically it is all boils down to the customer experience. Let me now come to Mr. Nirav. What are the different technologies that are driving financial inclusion in the banking sector? So you can touch upon technology that are customer centric, that are solving the regulatory requirement, and also solving other industry problems.
Yeah. So, I mean, we primarily focus on working capital as a fintech platform. So we are seeing a lot of adoption from banks on creating customer journey for supply chain and receivables financing as a platform. That's one. The other thing that we are seeing significantly increases embedded credit and automated credit underwriting, automating onboarding and KYC. So all of these tools that enable facilitation and disbursement on a straight through process basis for smaller vendors, dealers, distributors. You're seeing a lot of adoption happening with banks right now in that space. Also, you're seeing a lot of interest from banks in significantly reducing cost for digital underwriting or for their credit underwriting processes. that in turn is helping a lot of financial inclusion happen quicker. So smaller businesses are able to access capital much faster. So all in all, I think banks are becoming more and more conscious of customer journeys, and they are becoming more and more conscious of digitizing the entire customer experience.
Okay, I think yeah, that's a good compliment to what Mr. Babu has been telling about talking about the customer experience and overall customer centric technologies that are coming on to the banking sector. Now let me move on quickly to Mr. Gabru. And my question to him is, so customer centricity is one thing. What goes as a backend, the technology that improves processes, brings in more efficiency. That is not seen by the customer. So that's a huge space that needs a lot of work, and the companies, organizations, financial organizations are putting together processes and technology to improve that. So, what is your comment and experience in this particular part of the whole jigsaw?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
Perfect.
audibly, very
All right.
clearly.
Thank you so much, Babu. All right. So yes, I think Manoj, what point you have put up is that all this tech that we are putting at the back end of our processes, right, is not visible to the customer. I think if you talk about the new age stuff in the analytics or in the AI world that all the banks are moving towards, that is very much, that experience is there with the customers that have started coming to the customers. Like the example that Nirav take, right? He said that all that underwriting process is getting automated now, right? All the banks are moving towards that, AI driven decisioning, right? Earlier, if customer is coming to take a loan from the bank, right, the underwriting team manually will take like 30 days to approve your loan application, which is now getting approved in a day or a 2 days, right? That's the experience that customers are getting now, right? Now this, to achieve this, you need to have a very strong tech at the back end, right? It it and and the tech that you put up at the back end of these models, of this AI driven stuff, all this decisioning, that has to be like very solid, right? It has to be a very skilled up kind of thing. It cannot fail, right? Because if suddenly you have put it, rather than a manual credit underwriting, you have put in a machine to do the decisioning, that machine cannot cannot stop, right? It has to run 24 by 7, right? So I think as the technology is coming into all these financial and banking domains, the customer experience is gonna increase definitely, right? And the other point which Babu took, right, at the end of the day, whatever technology you are putting at the back end, right, you are confusing the customer maybe with multiple products, or you are everything should be customer centric. For that, I think I would like to add in one point, is that I think now with this lot of AI and new technology and tech that is coming in the market, right, and banks are adopting it also, every bank is moving towards personalization, right? They are trying to personalize the stuff as per the customer needs, right? Gone are the days, right, where you are just trying to pitch the customer with any offer that you want to offer. Nowadays, all the banks are moving towards very personalized offers as per the customer's history, as per the customer's behavior. We know what customer would want in this life stage he is into, right? If the customer just got married, I would know that customer would be looking for maybe to go to buy a home, right? He would be needing a home loan, or maybe he would be needing a auto loan. So I think all that AI, and then when that AI and that model stuff is joined together with the technology, banks are becoming very very smart, and that financial institutions have a lot of room to become more smart to make sure the customers are happy, make sure the customer experience is good, make sure we reach out to the customer with the stuff that he needs, right? We don't buzz him with a lot of offers and we end up confusing him, and he's not taking any product at all from you. So I think that all thing is really coming at a very fast pace, and with this migration to the cloud now, right? Earlier we used to do everything on the on-premise servers and stuff, right? As we are moving and migrating to the cloud stuff, this more and more adoption of technology is going to revolutionize the banking and the finance industry.
Okay, I think that's a good insight. I have slightly a difference of opinion in terms of what you do a customer profiling versus intrusiveness into their personal space. So that's a balance, the right balance we have to strike. As we adopt technology. Now I'll go to Mr. Utpal. Because he's the chief digital officer, I would spoke about a cloud journey. How important in your tech transformation, the cloud journey in your technology transformation, and how do you migrate, how do you move from your traditional landscape to a cloud ready or cloud enabled landscape, and with all the technologies that are plugging onto your ecosystem. Mr. Utpal. Yeah, you are on mute.
Yeah. Thank you, Manoj. Thank you so much. And I think I agree with most of the panelists. I mean, Babu, of course, and Nirav and Jagrup. So I'll take a step back and I'll start with the digital journey of any enterprise for that matter. I mean, may it be bank or may it be any other enterprise. So I think there are four pillars of digital journey. Okay, and probably many of the organizations are different stages in these four stages, or you can say four pillars. So number one is basically building the digital skeleton of an organization. Because if you want to do that digital journey, so may it be cloud, or you want to do the application modernization, or you want to implement AI, ML kind of application, or any other application. So first of all, you require that digital infrastructure to be ready. So that includes everything. You require a data infrastructure where you can have a data lake, or you can have a data warehouse kind of a thing. You need to build all your API economy, because if you don't have that APIs and all those things, then probably you will not be able to render your services into different digital channels. So that is first stage. And many of the organizations are still there in that stage. So they are preparing for the next step. The next step is basically the digital reach. Okay, so how you can reach out to your customers digitally, okay, and render more and more products and services digitally to your customers. So that has been done with the digital channels. And now after the pandemic, you can see like now almost all the organizations are now trying to render their services digitally. But there is a challenge here, right? To render your services into a digital mode, okay, which were traditionally in the physical mode, you need to actually transform your product into a digital mode. Then only you will be able to render it to your digital channels. Okay, so if you want to render it to your net banking, or I'm just taking an example of banking, or into your WhatsApp banking, mobile banking, or any other channel for that matter, a chatbot. So that part is also many of the organizations are working right now. And actually, if you look at the customer experience goes in parallel with this digital, what do you call, reach kind of a thing. So when you are reaching to the customers, and you are um, digitizing more and more your physical products and services into digital mode, at that point of time, you also think of the customer experience, because now you are promising that I'm going to give you the loan in 72 hours. Okay, now if your backend system is not agile enough, okay, to support that, then you will not be able to disburse your loan in 72 hours. It is not possible, right? The quick loan and all those things for most of the organization, most of the banks, they are actually not been able to do that in that way. So I think some background noise is there. So here, like the cloud migration is again a part of it, because I think the main motivation for cloud migration is first cost saving. Okay, and second thing, bringing that kind of efficiency. Nobody wants to take that kind of a hassle of maintaining all your data centers, your applications, and all other things. Okay, so they want to upload some of their work to somebody else, which is also cheaper in one way. So I think before this pandemic, what I've seen, at least in banks, so when we strategized our cloud migration plan, we thought like the non-critical applications will go into cloud. Okay, the critical applications which customer data is not going to go into the cloud. But today, if you look at, I mean, there is no difference. Cloud is equally safe, equally secure, well maintained. Okay, and you can monitor it in a much better way. So I think the perspectives has completely changed, and I think there are many bad things about this pandemic. But one thing I would like to say is it had actually propelled the digitization, the adoption of this digital revolution and the digitization in there. And then probably the other things comes into picture. What Babu said, like the technology is basically is enabler. Okay, technology cannot be the forefront of customer serving kind of a thing. Although technology is a very important component, okay, but technology is always an enabler kind of a thing. So that's what I can say.
Yeah.
I think very good, insight onto the cloud technology adoption. See, organizations that I have seen, the cloud strategy is generally two-pronged. One is, move applications in the reverse order of impact to cloud. The application which has the least impact, business impact, move that fast to the cloud. Other way of looking at it is move all new applications to cloud. And I would agree with you. The myth of cloud being not so secure, not putting data in there, has been largely removed from minds of people. It was kind of the thinking of the take paternity, but that has been the kind of getting eliminated. And as more and people adopt cloud, I think that mindset will change. And there is also a change in the way regulators are looking at cloud, and encouraging organizations to even adopt cloud. So more than cost and efficiency, it is reliability, as well as something like the resiliency that people look at when migrating to cloud. I'll move now to Mr. Manisi on the same question. What is the technology transformation roadmap that you have, and how are you adapting to the changes in the market?
Yeah, thank you, Manoj. I think, and whatever my fellow panelists have said, I think I totally agree with with the kind of opinion what they had given here. So I feel this, as Utpal also said, this particular digital, and also Mr. Babu said, this is a journey, and we cannot just achieve this in a just like for any, for especially for the banks like us who are the PSU background. We just cannot have the journey one fine morning and achieve the customer experience in a digital way, because the experience when the customer actually enjoy in his mobile in the end channel, that has to be very, very simple. If it is not simple, if it is going to be some kind of a bottleneck, or some kind of a, it's not an easy experience, then it's not an experience which is tenable in the market. For that, the kind of a journey what we have to undergo in the back end is a huge, and with a legacy kind of application, to this digital transformation is a one of its own kind of a journey. So I will start this way. The kind of a transformation, in the transformation, the first pillar is the customer first. Of course, the customer is the kind of a customer choice is going to be the most important. And because of the latest generation, the millennials and Gen Z, what do you call it, the Generation Z, the kind of experience who are actually just interested to push some buttons in the mobile and do the transactions. This is a huge challenge for these banks to achieve that particular, that particular kind of objective. So for that to improve at our end, at the back end, the technology end, when we had so far the SDLC kind of methodology for the software development, the latest, the things what we have to do, which is of course we are in the pipeline, that is CI/CD kind of a pipeline we have to develop, so that in this agile technology only will help us in achieving those kind of a scenario, because this requires a on-demand kind of service delivery, continuous innovation. That's a need of the hour. Third, I will go for the modernizing our infrastructure, because with a monolithic kind of a, applications what we have in the past, we have to go for microservice based architecture with APIs. But we are already into the things APIs, ESB. Already we have implemented DevOps, security DevOps, DevSecOps. We have to start, because if we, unless and until we have this kind of technology inbuilt into the system, it will be difficult for us to leverage the cloud kind of technology, so that we can, because if we have to consume, if we have to journey towards digital transformation, we have to embrace the cloud. To embrace the cloud, we have to slowly move towards a kind of a Kubernetes kind of an environment, a containerization. For that, the basic structure, whatever we have to embrace, that we had already started. Then the fourth one is the leveraging the power of data. With a data in whatever is there in that data warehouse, to mold and to come out with analytical data, for which will be with enriched with customer profiling and some kind of a predictive part. So this leveraging power of data, leveraging the power of data is a very, very important step for this customer digital transformation. And then the last but not the least, the most important is the skill set. With the kind of experience in our manpower, whatever we have so far, these latest technologies, it's not a cakewalk for any organization to just get it from the market. It needs a cultural change within the organization, within the department, for this improved skills, because these skill sets are very, very costly. We cannot just hire it like the kind of way we do it in the traditional way. So this is one of the most important parts. I think these are the five pillars through which it is possible for a bank like us, and which is already we are in the pipeline, to go for some digital transformation journey.
I think very well articulated. From virtualization, we have moved to hypervisor, to hyper-converged, then private cloud, then to public cloud. And a parallel movement was also the containerization that happened along the way. And now we are also talking about the edge computing on top of that. And we spoke about the DevOps, then DevSecOps, then we are now looking at DevSecOps. So performance is another criteria that is being built into the CI/CD pipeline that we spoke about. Then there is, I agree that power of data is something that is rightly to be analyzed, and we can do a lot of slice and dice of data and transformation data. And a lot of now organizations looking at data stewards, so that we use the data in the right way, in the right manner that we promise the customer uh, how you will use. Then skills, obviously that is one thing that has to improve all the way. And as we speak, looking at the market, the skill scarcity, as well as there is a lot of attrition and other things that are coming. So we have to scale up the ecosystem to make sure that we upskill people, reskill people, and make them usable in the organization in its transformation journey. Now I'll move again to Mr. Babu, and let us predict the future now. So what do you think in these areas, these five areas that Mr. Manish spoke about? What are the next thing that is coming up?
Yeah, quite a good thing which we discussed about. I appreciate that. we talk about APIs, and because the time to the market, if you look at the traditional ways, unless you use this microservice and APIs, you're going to be there only. And when we are talking about open banking, and we don't even most of the banks don't even use APIs. It's very difficult to really kind of develop new things also with the agility. What we are looking at, develop anything. So briefly, before little bit diverge from the subject, I'll tell you what banks are doing. Banks are best penetrated by RPA. This robotic, this definitely there is a measurable outcome. It is not good. No new technology is required. They are doing the RPA and they're deriving the benefits. When it's to blockchain, nobody is there. When you come to AI and all, let me tell you, sir, most of the banks do not have data warehouses. And where do they mine? Unless you have a proper data, you don't have to, how do you mine it? Why do you talk about AI and ML and give them some and the vendors in the market, they bring you up to the descriptive part of it, then predictive and prescriptive nobody is doing. They ask you how to do it, right? This kind of thing. And if you talk about the big data, yeah, people are trying. One bank approached me, sir, we want to do big data, we want to build a big data warehouse. I said, analytics. I said, where is the warehouse? Do you don't have a warehouse? Do you have, as you said, no such skill set? Whether people have skill set. And recently, to tell you, in the last 2 months, 3 months, we in different banks we are recruiting specialists in data science at least. Most of the earlier we used to select IT officers. Now we select 15, 16 verticals separately because we need like no technology to really kind of know to be to benefited. So when it comes to any bank, I told you my first concern is my regulatory compliance. I do it because it is a regulatory compliance. Second thing is because some other bank is doing these kinds of things are happening. But in future, definitely this API banking is going to really help. NPCI has set the trend for all the banks by interacting through you APIs. It's not that you build an app for everything. Just get connected. See, when I look at banking, how many transactions I do? Maybe 15, 20. Let me have some APIs for that. Let them have some common APIs where a vendor want on like ICICI, LGF, when some vendor want to onboard, they have an excellent system, like where how to for testing, for approval, and getting them on board. Okay, and when it comes to applications, as I said, sir, this kind of application, HDFC. I'm not taking any bank's name, but I'm saying some of them, and I really like them. But as some mobile apps like ICICI, I love it because as a kind of technologist, I have 5, 6 banks use just to test their apps, right? Some are very, I use, this is my biometric, that's it. Some want 3, 4 passwords. And what I feel is in future, if you, why UPI was so successful, the interface is so simple and easy, and everybody has the same interface. Like your McDonald's or any of the multinationals you talk about, you have the same feel. Let's have some universal app which has the same feel. That's what I'm looking at. Okay, you have many other apps, but the UPI, why there are billions are happening, billions of transactions? Why? Because the ease of use and the standardization. You go to Paytm, you go to Google, anywhere you have the same feel. We need such kind of thing or feeling. So my feeling is open banking is coming. CBDC will take its own time. No clue how to implement the CBDC part of it. Then the decentralized financing, yeah, we are going to have it. Peer-to-peer lending is already happening. Bank has approved, and most of us do not know. I just try something, peer-to-peer lending at the kind of risk you can take and the reward you expect. That is already happening, and with the approval of the regulator. So my worry is over a period whether bank will exist. Banks will do all these kinds of things because others are doing very easily with some benefits. Now they have stopped it, but I'm saying they are doing much faster. So what I'm looking at is ultimately it boils down to few relations with the bank. I don't do my entire kind of thousands of relations with the bank. Whatever the banking is there, I'm doing. Sir, when it comes to Mr. Jagroup's idea, it's happening very quickly. The instantaneous lending is happening. I think probably Mr. Nirav will vouch for me. He's also into that. It's a jiffy. You are at least for a small ticket finance. And there are many, at least I'm a mentor of fintechs also. Already I have two with me, and I have seen earlier also. The mentors, the fintechs, they are coming with a lot of this instant credit ideas. They are doing that. So what I feel is the future is which is meaningful technology, not just because blockchain is well adopted, not because something is there. And chatbots have to evolve, sir. They are evolving, they evolve. It looks very small, but even it makes nonsense when I talk to even the latest Singapore Airlines. When I talk, I realize that I'm fed up because chatbots have to evolve, not just for the sake of evolving. And in this area, of course, Utpal and all, they are doing a lot of research on that. I think he's going beyond that to quantum computing and all. So for me, sir, at least to start with, let us have a open banking kind of thing. Let's have forget about neo banking and all. I don't. I look at the last guy, the guy who is in the rural areas. When he does it, UPI is happening because all are there. 5 billion will not happen like that. So similar thing, I want to experience in all the channels. So API is one of the easiest thing which we can adopt for any fintech. He'll just on fintechs are having excellent ideas. You onboard them quickly, they come out with something, and it will happen, which will be useful to the community. I think with the this is what I want to say. There's a lot of thank you so
Extremely
much.
passionate, yeah,
Yeah,
extremely passionate, explanation, and
yeah,
I'm sure that open banking is something that the industry is
yeah,
closely looking at, and the way the API has been success, open banking, if that can happen, will be uh, something that the common man will look forward to. And let me go to Mr. Nirav Choksi again back, and he is the CEO, co-founder and CEO of Credible. So what is the next thing that you are doing? You know, in terms of making your products and solutions more scalable and improve the reach.
Sorry, Mr. Sarangi, could you repeat the last bit? What am I doing with my products to improve?
Products and services to improve your customer base and also the reach.
Right. So, I mean, we primarily are a working capital tech platform business, right? So, we've built several platforms around working capital financing. And the way we go about acquiring customers there is typically in partnership with large corporate anchors on one side and their vendor, dealer, distributor ecosystems on the other. But about 18 months ago, what we've done interestingly is to start partnering with large, private sector, public sector banks in India, and licensing our platforms to them to enable them to create similar journeys for their customer base. So we are seeing a huge amount of new borrowers coming onto the platform because NBFCs and banks that we work with today have co-branded our platforms and they've taken it to their existing customers. So we think that these kinds of partnerships, like where fintech companies like us bring in the nimbleness, the technology, the flexibility for a bank to integrate with, and we are able to integrate with their core banking systems, legacy or otherwise. Uh, that as a partnership as a very very valuable proposition to and Mr. Babu put it extremely brilliantly that while banks are probably going to take time to come to a point where fintechs are already innovating, I think the that speed would be exponential in partnership with banks for fintechs and for banks and vice versa, right? So we've seen that happen in the last 18 months. There is huge incoming interest both from public sector banks as well as Indian private banks and banks in other emerging economies as well to adopt fintech platforms and to white label them or co-brand them and take it to their customers. So I think that is going to be the next big customer acquisition route for fintechs as well as for banks.
Sir, I'll just pop in for a while. Thank you, Nero. I mean, it's lovely to know that you are kind of you're the bridge for the fintech. You're giving them a platform and you give, connecting them to the core bank. That's the greatest part. Second part, many people miss that, right? And I
Right.
have a few startups. Somebody wants to one said, "Yeah, I want to have a kind of this learning system." Now, for that, he wants to build a gateway. I said, bringing a gate, building a gate, I said, it's just impossible. On board on somebody like you, no, I'm very happy to know. Sorry, sir. Sorry for the kind of,
No, that is good. That is good.
yeah.
So I'll come back again to Mr. Jagrup. Something that has I've already taken a cue from Mr. Nirav and Mr. Babu. See, APIs are inevitable. They are the connect between the fintechs and banks, and the consumption of services happen through APIs. But mainly the problem with APIs is if you look at the data breach that happened in last 1 year, a lot of them can be attributed to weak APIs that are deployed in the ecosystem. And as a data engineer, how do you kind of design API and make sure that this API doesn't have inherent weaknesses and they do what they're supposed to do? And also, corollary to that question is, how important do you think API gateway for organization, bigger organization, which is publishing a lot of APIs, what benefit that it will bring?
That's a very good question, Manoj. I had to. I'm sorry, I'm having a little hard time to hear you. I had to, press my earphones to hear you. Uh, yeah. So, good question, Manoj. I think APIs are like have started kind of becoming the backbones of any digital platforms that you are creating, right? All these banks are now moving towards digital. They are creating digital journeys, right? Now the entire lending platform, lending business have gone digital, right? There is no paperwork at all, right? And if you have to, and as Neerav said, right, all this platform or this digital has to be connected with the core application systems, right? And now, how do you make sure that they talk to each other in a manner so that it's scalable and it's real time, right? There is no any a lag of a data or a data or a all of that. So for that, the API infra is like very important so that applications can talk to each other on a real time basis. They become the bridge between two parties to talk, request and response, right? Now, from the perspective when we talk about APIs, right? APIs they are adding a lot of value in the digital journeys. They are very difficult to maintain and govern as well, right? You really need to have. I really liked one point which Utpal mentioned earlier, right? You first of all you need to have your digital infra setup, right? You need to make sure you have the infra to do all this stuff. You need to make sure the right architecture is there when API is been set up, right? How API is been tested on regressively, right? How much bandwidth that API can provide you, right? You are currently getting like 10 customers on your digital platform. Suddenly 1,000 customers come on your platform and the API start failing, will create a chaos, right? And it will be very difficult to come out of that situation at that time with something running in the production, right? So you need to make sure you have a very good digital infra setup which is fail tolerant, right? And now, as we are talking about, having a very nice digital infra setup in data engineering and in the IT infra, we always talk about two type of, you know, uh, uh, scale ups, right? One is a horizontal scale up, one is a vertical scale up, right? Horizontal scale up, right? You keep adding new machines, right? You keep adding new servers, right? And the vertical scale up is in the same machine, you keep increasing the RAM, the configuration, you keep increasing on that, right? Now, there is a lot of cost and cost involved in all these scale ups, right? So that's why, coming back to your earlier question which you asked, Utpal, the cloud migration, right? If we are moving towards the digital, if we are, all these banks are moving towards digital products and the journeys, right? uh, the type of infra that you want to set up, the cloud migrations are very important, because on the cloud the infra is like cheap, right? It's very cheap, right? And now today, if we talk about any of the cloud services, right? You talk about GCP, you talk about AWS, or you talk about Microsoft, they all are providing very niche tool stack to you to manage the security of the data, right? Uh, like Amazon is like providing HMS and KMS kind of technologies with which you're basically the key management system, right? How your data will be encrypted and who will have the control to decrypt the data, that control can never be with the cloud service provider. It will always be with the organizations who has the control over the data, right? So all that when that all this technology is getting mixed up with the digital, as I said, it is going to revolutionize the entire, this digital journey that we are talking about, right? So I think that's my take on to that. API infra is very good, but for that, digital infra setup is very important. First point. Second point, you shouldn't be going for a horizontal scale up of your data warehouses, right? You need to make sure you have a vision to move to the cloud, and you should start the cloud journeys as soon as possible, because one very big factor of the cloud is like it's cheap, and the reliability, the availability. If we talk about, on the cloud, the services that we get they are highly available, right? They are very less fault tolerant, right? So all these features you get into the right architecture. So that those all things are very important, to have the right API infrastructure and make sure APIs are adding the value into your digital infrastructure is very important.
So let me slightly rephrase the question and come back again to Utpal. I like for your way of putting to the journey in two phases: digital skeleton and digital bridge. And again, digital skeleton with the API economy actually serves the purpose of starting your skeletal, structure of your digital space, so proposed digital space. But again, I probably re-emphasize, because this is a point that a lot of people will be interested to hear. When you build up your API infrastructure, what are the things that you need to take care of? See, because again, I am emphasizing, because there's a lot of vulnerability, lot of attacks, lot of data exfiltration that has happened in the past, recent past. And if you look at the news headlines on any data breach, one or the other will definitely link to some API that has been exposed and data will be exfiltrated. So building an economy, or API economy, requires obviously a lot of investment on the API. But how can we make sure that these APIs are safe, secure, and not exposed in a wrong way, so that those can be exploited?
Yeah, thank you, Manoj. So I think if you look at today, the option, or we'll say the most viable option that is available today to integrate with any kind of systems or interconnect systems kind of is API. Okay, so that's what is left to us. So probably we'll have to work with that. But yes, you said very rightly that how to actually build those APIs, how to make them secure and all those things. So for that, the touch points, definitely whenever you are doing that kind of a integration architecture. So the task points need to be definitely, you need to make secure. And many of the middlewares, okay, so if you have a middleware, any kind of ESB, uh, that those mostly provides most of the things that are required for an enterprise to build their API economy. So it starts with orchestration. Okay, so security is of course utmost importance, at least for the banks, of course for the other enterprises also. The orchestration part, okay, the transformation part, how you can do the transformation, the routing part, okay, how you will be able to make that kind of, because when you are building an API economy, it is not going to be a very straightforward kind of thing, right? It will be more and more complex. And Manoj, as you are from a bank, you know, like any decent bank, if you talk about, they will at least have 100 systems. Okay, probably your
Yeah.
Axis Bank will have some around 400 system, 350, 400 systems, probably more also. So I mean, building an API economy in this kind of a scenario, okay, where you have got so many systems and you want to do that on your orchestration, your routing, your transformation, supporting all types of protocols, and also there are best practices. Having said that, I, in my personal view, I mean, however secure you want to make it, okay, there is a possibility of attack or probably some kind of loophole, which definitely this the security criminals, they can take advantage of. Okay, so that's what I can say. But it is a constant journey, and I think we are also doing the same thing. Okay, we are also not an expert on this area. We are also learning, progressing. So in my case, like we try to. Encrypt everything, data at rest, data at transit, and all the task points we try to secure as much as possible. Okay, we provide multiple hops, although hops are not good. Whenever you are connecting to, in an integration mechanism, whenever you are doing hopping, at that point of time, definitely it is resource extensive, right? And also you will not be that agile or that fast. But still, for security point of view, if you look at, if you have a hopping mechanism, then at least your hackers or the cyber criminals, they don't have a direct access to your those kind of systems. So sometimes the hopping is also good for some kind of systems, although not recommended for all. So these are some things I can tell, Manos. There is no silver bullet for this. What I can feel, yeah.
Indeed, there is no silver bullet, and a little bit of layering or adding layers in between the attackers and you is something that may protect you up to a large extent. But having a API policy and making sure those policies are there too are something that is going to make your uh, infrastructure robust. And let me go to Manish for my last question for this session. Manish, so regulatory requirement in banking is very highly regulated. Okay. For regulatory requirement, how you are leveraging technology to fulfill all your regulatory requirement, and how the new
Uh,
technology are helping it.
for the regulatory requirement, I think since I will take that this way that demand from the regulator has increased day by day in terms of the data, in terms of report, and it's going to be initially the things were whatever way, but then now the accuracy is one of the most important factor for the regulator and the consistency. These are the two important factors for the regulator and versatile informations they wanted from the bank. So for this, the technology actually, what I will say that here, of course, there is no sort of any latest that way we are consuming any API or something. That of course, that is the way the RBI is consuming sometimes the direct data because of that RBI SIMS project what is there. They are consuming it directly. That is one of the technological advancements which has gone through which some API they are actually taking the data into their system and they are analyzing at their end. Other than that, what enabling us to provide regulator consistent data is my established data warehouse. So data warehouse is actually, since it's a single point of source for my data, so that is one of the which is a great enabler because majority of my data is going towards the data from the data warehouse to the regulator. Also my that ADF part, which is one of the most important part of the RBI returns, automated data flow. So that is in fact some of them are being taken through XBRL formats, and through that they are consuming the reports from the directly from the bank. So I think from the regulatory point of view, I can say that these are some of the things which we are catering to the regulator. Other than that, I don't know. The future might be because now it's a RegTech is one of the very upcoming things in the market. So in future, how this RegTech is going to function, that we have to still see. So that's the part from on the regulatory side, what we are actually the way we are doing it for the regulator.
Interesting. Actually, day by day, there will be some technologies will be always used. See, starting from the GRC with technology which is used for generally reporting uh, risk and compliance. There are certain other tools which are coming up, which will be which will enable organization to do regulatory reporting as well as comply to different standards that are being desired. And I think thank you all panelists, and this has been a very wonderful discussion. I like to be a moderator in such session because I can ask questions, so I don't have to answer questions. So that's a advantage of being a moderator. So I think that's all from me. Thank you, panelists, for the wonderful session. Thank you, organizers. You may have given us this opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Manishi.
Manoj. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Utpal.
you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thanks.
thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Can we have Namrata ma'am give a presentation before we log off?
Hi Sandeep, yeah, I'm right here. What I'll do is I'll quickly take the audience. All right, who are following
Sure.
us on the various social media handles. So yeah, I represent an organization known as Brain Wonders. Brain Wonders is India's largest counseling organization as of now, and we are primarily into the field of assessments and counseling. Over the past decade, we have garnered a lot of expertise. We have garnered a lot of experience in terms of psychometric assessment, career guidance. We're the only company who has a US patented DMIT, that's a biometric based assessment. And you know what we have done is we have basically been able to work with a lot of age groups. So starting from 1 year old to somebody who's, let's say, 65 or 70-year old, we have been in constant service of them. And what we have understood is that there's no limit to human potential and what we can do, and that is exactly where our services have tied up with a lot of organizations as well. All right. um, so overall, we are spread globally, and we of course have a very amazing. Thankfully, we have a very amazing team of psychologists and technologists who work together to create customized assessments for our clients. So we have personality tests, we have EQ tests, we have aptitude, we have IQ tests, we have intelligence tests as well. We also provide a lot of trainings and workshops. There is interest tests, there are a lot of career based tests, and we also do a lot of skill based assessments or role based assessments for our various clients spread across various industries. Even for BFSI, we have the financial happiness tool, we have the alternate income profiler, and many tools like that. And apart from this, we also provide actual expert interventions in the form of counseling, literature or resource materials, training courses, and all those things. We initially started out in the education sector, where right from the students, parents, and even the teachers or the faculty, we have been able to work with them in a systematic manner, or we have been able to make a very good impact on the whole system per se, not just for the students, but into ensuring that we are providing good global leaders to boost the countries and the world's economy as well. For corporates, we have been very well connected for three very primary reasons. One is a lot of our tools is used to enhance the business development angle, or in expand the client base or add value to the existing client base. All right. The second one is, of course, in terms of hiring and training the right talent, and lastly, of course, ensuring that the whole cohort of the company, or the whole work ethics or the organization structure of the company are working in tandem, where right up till the top management to achieve the company's goals. So we also provide customizations, and that is why we have been extremely popular with multiple brands across multiple industries. Because right from the registration page, or when somebody comes to take the test, to the kind of questions they have, whether it's a lingual test, whether it has to be MCQ based, the kind of design, the way the test is presented, the things that you need to measure on the test. All right. Of course, we also give the admin panel for our clients, and to manage the whole process. Whether, let's say, understanding how many people have applied for the applied for the who have applied for the test, have appeared for the test, what are the scores, what are the profile in summary, what are the profile in details. We have those kind of things also come into place when we talk about an administrative dashboard. For the same, we have had many partners, which includes people like esteemed organizations in the BFSI as well, like Aditya Birla Capital. We have some in manufacturing segment. We have medicine and healthcare. We have retail. We work with IT departments. Government is also one of them. Then we have academic organizations, including organizations of higher learning, right? So we have, and obviously schools as well. And for the same, we have been connected to many, many associations and organizations who continuously work with it to ensure that our services are, very scalable, and they are always, better than what one would expect. So we are associated with American Psychological Organization or National Career Development Association, and for the same, we have received, many recognitions from the corporate segment, from the education industry, from many parents, and of course, our cherished clients are always on the top of our list. We take obviously data security and management also very seriously, and we have the right certifications for that. And the same has been often acknowledged and reverberated across many, public channels or media stories as well. So apart from that, currently we are partnered with 93 corporate firms, 1,200 plus schools, and almost 700 experts from the medical fraternity who have closely evaluated our and experienced and approved our services. And that's exactly where I'm hoping that we could scale this up and ensure that while this platform, all of us, like the whole idea was to get a lot of discussion going about very key important topics that are required to be this. And obviously nothing could be more important than actual humans themselves or actual human development itself. So that is exactly we come in as a as a psychology based company who specialize in assessments. And like I said, the US patented DMIT is the only test which is which is immune to, let's say, the age or geographical location or the designation. So it's a lifelong test and measures your inborn or innate talent, traits, qualities. So that is how we have been able to come up so far, and we wish to go ahead accordingly. So yeah, I think I'll just end here. And of course, anybody of our audience wants to connect, they know how to reach us. So that's it.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think this was such a wonderful exposure to all the BFSI experts as well. And I'm sure few of them have already reached out to you and Manish sir for for your DMIT. And I'm sure you can definitely help in recruitment as well as finding the right kind of people who would apply for loans in the banking and finance sector. Thank you so much for this amazing session. And with this, we are drawing close towards our second digital transformation banking summit. We witnessed close to 50 odd speakers from the banking sector who spoke upon various topics, talking about digital transformation of the banking sector. With this, we promise you that we'll keep on bringing such amazing experts back to you week after week at Universal Mentors Association TV, the YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe and like if you like the content on what we are presenting. Thank you so much for joining in for today. Till further, stay tuned. Have a great one. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.